Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ad Age Remotely. I'm Janine Poggi, editor of Ad Age. Thank you so much for joining us as we count down to Super Bowl 57. Workday, the enterprise software company used at many Fortune 500 companies, will be a newcomer to the Super Bowl ad game this year, with plans to air its first big game commercial. Joining us today to discuss Workday's Super Bowl strategy and give us a sneak peek at its campaign is Chief Marketing and Strategy Officer Pete Schlamp. Hi, Pete.
Hey, Janine. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having us. I'm excited to be here.
It's certainly an exciting time for Workday as you get set to debut your first Super Bowl commercial. Can you talk a little bit about the thinking behind this year being the first year for Workday to buy into the game? Why now?
Yeah, so Workday, here at Workday, we believe we're shaping the future of work. And so with our audience, and that's typically the users are the heads of finance and HR at companies, we're really well known to them. But we actually, believe it or not, we're being used by over 60 million workers across our customer base. And so, that's over 50% of the Fortune 500 and growing. So at this moment, we feel like, a lot of our audience knows us, but the larger environment, all the people that are going to be watching the Super Bowl, we want to really make a splash with them and really become relevant in their minds.
And why is that important right now? What does that speak to in terms of Workday's strategy, in terms of who you're trying to reach moving forward?
As I said before, we are shaping the new world of work, and that's with things like creating great employee experiences for our customers' employees, doing things like moving to a skills-based workforce. And so all of those are topics that are really relevant to the people that are actually watching the Super Bowl, not just the managers who are buying the software, but also the people who are being influenced by it. So we want to be a household name with those folks. And right now is the time for us to do it.
And why do you think the Super Bowl is the right place to do it?
Well, there's no bigger stage, is there? 110 million viewers who are watching. It's also, because it's the Super Bowl, as we all know, it's the Super Bowl of advertising as well. We've always wanted to bring fun and creativity to our advertising and our brand campaigns, and we really feel like this is a great opportunity to get out there and say who we are in a way that's fun and exciting to these people.
And we have two teasers, a little sneak peek on what Workday will be bringing to the Super Bowl. Let's have a look.
You are a rock star.
Thank you. You keep telling yourself that. Who's the new guy?
I don't know, but he's supposed to be some kind of rock star.
Which one of you wants a piercing?
So tell us a little bit about the creative, where the idea sort of sprung from. Were you working with an agency on this?
We were, and by the way, who you just saw there, you saw four-time Grammy Award winner Gary Clark Jr. and the other gentleman who you might not have recognized because he's in a business attire, but that's Ozzy Osbourne. And yeah, so the idea that we were working with here is rock stars, and rock stars being in the world of work, which is a little bit of a strange place for them to be. We have been working with a couple different agencies, but Ogilvy helped us with this one. They are really, creative geniuses and brought together this. But I also want to call out our own internal advertising, media, and brand folks who had a ton to do with this as well. As I mentioned before, fun is it's actually one of our core values at Workday. It's something that we live and breathe every day at work. And we've always had that as part of our advertising and brand campaigns. And I think that you're going to see through this campaign, as you see the ad itself, you're going to see a lot of fun being brought into the workplace.
And why tap these two celebrities? What are you thinking about? What was the thought process in terms of what talent you were looking to partner with for this?
Well, we're really looking for rock stars, people who everybody knows, and we did a really extensive search in terms of the way that people know and really the social reach of these different rock stars. We also spend a lot of time thinking about diversity as well, having a great diverse set of people that are in front of the camera to match our audience. And by the way, that's not only the rock stars that we were working with, and there were 5 in total, and I'll talk about those in a second, but also the rest of the cast, who is absolutely hilarious. I had the luck to go down and film and observe the filming of this, and oh my gosh, there are so many hilarious outtakes that I wish that we could shove into our 60 seconds.
I do too. I love seeing those.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I think it's such a funny setting, right? You've got rock stars in an office setting, and you've got office people working with rock stars. And so these are things that you don't normally expect. And a lot of funny things come out of that.
Yeah, what was it like navigating your first Super Bowl commercial in terms of the on-set, activities, sort of what that was like? Any surprises, any things that like changed course along the way?
Well, we shot over the course of 3 days and 5 different locations in Los Angeles. And we tried to select, as I said, we selected a couple office settings. And we also selected some areas that rock stars are kind of in their natural environment. So the Orpheum Theater down in LA and the Greek Theater down in LA, which are super cool venues that everybody knows. I think some of the funny moments were just when you have rock stars talking about business and they're kind of like looking around asking like, what the heck is this thing that I'm even talking about? They're talking about ERP software. What is this? This is not a topic that they typically talk about. You also had these moments where you've got these regular office people kind of interacting with rock stars like they're just their colleagues, right? So again, those are some of the kind of funny juxtapositions that kind of come out. You don't even need words for those to be funny in a lot of ways.
You mentioned other talent that will appear in the spots. Any insight you can give into who else might be appearing in the game day ad?
Yeah, so I talked about Gary Clark Jr. and Ozzy Osbourne. I can also confirm Joan Jett, Queen of Rock, will also be part of it. And then we're also going to keep 2 more rock stars secret for a little while longer, keep our cards close to our vest on those. But I can assure you that everyone's going to love them. They'll know them, and they'll be surprised and laugh when they see it.
You mentioned the prioritizing representation, inclusivity in front of the camera, the casting. How are you also thinking about this in every stage of creating, the Super Bowl ad, both in front of, but then also behind the camera? What were you thinking about the production companies you were working with, the directors, and all of that?
Yeah, like I said, so we have an internal mantra here. It's called valuing inclusion, belonging, and equity, or VIBE. And we think about that in every way that we work. We think about it in the products that we build because it's so important for the way that people work with their employees, right? And it's also how we think about working on advertising in our marketing. And so, we spent a lot of time making sure that both in front of the camera and behind the camera, we had a diverse set of people working on it. That also includes some of the creative ideas. And so internally, we worked with our own employee belonging councils, making sure that the ideas that we were bringing forward in this campaign resonated with everybody and made everybody feel like they were vibing, so to speak. And also we made sure to work with our agency and make sure that they had a diverse group of people working on the project as well.
And you mentioned the idea of like fun and this being a fun campaign and really people enjoying themselves even in the shooting of this. How are you thinking about navigating all of this and the creative tone, amid an economic recession, amid an economic downturn, amid people getting laid off? Like, what is sort of the thinking, especially because we're talking about work here specifically? How are you thinking about navigating that with this Super Bowl commercial?
Well, it is a challenging economic time for everybody out there, all businesses, including our customers. And we know that during those times, companies that are investing in their people and their workforce end up coming out ahead. And that's certainly what we're seeing in our own business. And as we think about this ad itself, taking this moment to have a Super Bowl ad, we also know that companies that invest in their brand and advertising during challenging times like this actually have a higher ROI on the other side. So it was a very conscious decision that we made to do this ad. and we expect to have a great outcome on the other side.
And what do you think the campaign itself, we talked about at the top of this, the future of work or how work has changed and sort of your goals there. How do you think this campaign sort of conveys that? Like, what are you looking to convey in terms of what the future of work might look like through this?
Well, so first of all, I'll start with the title of the spot is Rockstar, and it kind of follows our other longstanding campaign that we call For a Changing World, right? And so when you use Workday, we believe that our customers are able to face this changing world that they've been going through over and over for the past several years and be able to come out on the other side stronger. What we're trying to do with the campaign is actually celebrate these unsung but very important heroes inside the workplace, the HR and finance leaders that help the companies navigate the change. And, kind of with a tongue in cheek, we're calling them rock stars. And so I don't want to give away the point of the joke, but I'll tell you, we'll feel really successful if on Monday morning after the Super Bowl, people at the office place or in the office space are saying, hey, Joe or Jane, you're a rock star. And they're saying it with a little bit of a smile on their face.
Social media obviously makes up an important part of Super Bowl marketing campaigns. How are you thinking about the social strategy, both before the game and during the game with this campaign?
Well, we've actually already been working on this for a while. A few weeks ago, we worked with the Wall Street Journal, and we looked at the top 250 management executives that they had in a piece that they were running, and we ran advertising associated with that, talking about them as rock stars. So we started to kind of set the stage there. Few weeks ago, we started releasing, you can maybe see in the background, you can see some of this creative where you see like CEOs being rock stars and these other kind of playful advertisements where you've got people that are in the workplace being seen as rock stars. We've been asking people to tag the people that they work with as rock stars and include these advertisements in those tags. Also now, as we'll be having here in a couple days, when we release this video, we're going to be showing the teasers, and we'll also be asking people to share the teasers. And then eventually, as we warm up to the Super Bowl, we'll be releasing the full 60, and then hopefully people will be sharing that as well.
Yeah, Twitter obviously is an important part of game day strategies. You see brands on Twitter during the game, sort of having conversations with consumers, having conversations with other brands and engaging with each other there. What are you thinking about, especially this year with all of the sort of chaos around Twitter? How are you thinking about utilizing that platform in particular, either before or during the game?
We believe that Twitter is where a lot of the conversation is going to be happening this year around the Super Bowl. And so we want to make sure that we are there. So we are going to be using some paid social during the 4 days around kind of on the shoulder of the Super Bowl and also during the Super Bowl as well. But we're also really making sure that we have brand safety in mind as well. It's something that is really important for us. We really believe that our brand is amongst the enterprise software space, regarded as one of the best, and we don't want to take any risks there. So we have lots of plans in place to make sure that the conversation is one that we want to be part of, and we're also doing a lot of heavy targeting as well.
How are you thinking about other platforms? Are there other platforms like TikTok or YouTube or others that you are utilizing or prioritizing?
Well, I'll start with LinkedIn, which you might not typically think of as associated with a Super Bowl, but certainly amongst our audience. And when it comes to the world of business, LinkedIn is absolutely a place where a lot of this conversation happens. I mentioned before, some of these posters that you're seeing in the background, some of that advertisement, that is already live on LinkedIn, and we're heavily leaning into LinkedIn and YouTube as well. So we'll have the two teasers that you just saw a minute ago. We'll have a couple more teasers that are available. We will be showing the 60 on YouTube as well. And we'll also have a 30-second spot as well that we'll be sharing on YouTube and encouraging sharing via that platform.
Yeah, LinkedIn is an interesting one. Do you expect there to be like a real-time conversation element on LinkedIn, or is that more of a pre-promotion vehicle?
Well, it's both, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a conversation happening in the middle of the Super Bowl. You know, believe it or not, I've been in the Super Bowl and been on LinkedIn in the past. It's not what what you're doing when you're selling cars or snacks, but when you're talking about business topics, people are actually there and having a conversation on that platform. So I do expect us to be part of the conversation during the moment itself on LinkedIn.
How about influencers? How are you utilizing, are you leaning into, influencer marketing in any way? Are there business influencers that, Workday is tapping either as part of this campaign or more broadly in part of your marketing strategy for 2023?
Yeah, so I'll just say that the talent that we are working with, they will all be participating in the social as well with this, and we're excited to have that. They have a reach that we typically don't reach, so that's really interesting. It's kind of broadening the group that we are reaching, and we also work with industry influencers on a regular basis. They're all being briefed as part of this, and we're hoping that they also participate in a few. In a few weeks, we're actually bringing them together actually in the month of March, and we're happy to have some of the creative that we actually got as part of filming this advertisement. We're going to be able to use that as well during that time. Hopefully, have another little internal secret surprise for them, and hopefully they get to share some of that later as well. So it should be pretty fun. I'll also mention, just as part of this campaign, this is not just one and done at the Super Bowl. So I mentioned For a Changing World, long-term campaign for Workday. We now have rock stars as part of that. But this idea of bringing rock stars into the office space and working with our ambassadors, we do actually heavily lean into sports ambassadors as well. We're going to be able to kind of tie together some of the rock stars and the sports ambassadors throughout the year in really fun ways as well. And some of that work's already done. Some of the creative's already done. Looking forward to getting that out there as well in the coming months.
In terms of the media strategy moving forward, are you planning on doing more TV creative? Are there platforms or other things that you'll be leaning into in a bigger way in 2023?
TV has been and will continue to be a big part of our mix, but also, and by the way, we think about that as at moments with passion and prestige. So typically, moments like the Super Bowl. It could also be during F1. We really work with golf quite a bit, and so live at the Masters is a big moment for us. We also sponsor the Workday Memorial Tournament, which happens the week after Memorial Day. So these are big moments during the year that we lean into TV. There's other moments as well. Internationally, we also do the same. So we look at the similar types of moments in different international and regional markets. That said, we also have a large component of what we do, which is always on. And so that is doing out-of-home advertising. It's also doing things paid digital across all the moments where our audience is listening, and so that's in various locations, including at times where you have HR conferences, finance conferences. It could be with the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, those types of outlets as well.
Our audience always loves to hear about like the inner workings of Super Bowl ads, what goes on really on set. I'm just curious for you, since this is the first time out for Workday, like any major surprises or things that you sort of weren't expecting to happen, or anything about the process that like really kind of surprised you or thought might end up differently?
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun, honestly, being on set and being able to see these people who you see, I've frankly idolized many of these people throughout my life, and being able to see them say things that we wrote and then start to improvise. Maybe one surprise for me is the amount of content that we got, the number of times that we went through and shot the same scene over and over and over, and ended up getting just the right version of it. And I'll say, it was great for the advertising and brand team here at Workday to be there on set, listening and truly having kind of belly laughs at certain times, and saying, "That's it, we got it. That's exactly right." And I'll also say, super cool moments where people had an opportunity to kind of say hi, get to know these folks, take some pictures with them. It was pretty neat.
Pete, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to chat about the Super Bowl campaign and hear what you're doing further into 2023. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. By the way, one thing I forgot to mention is the director, which is so important.
Yeah.
Jim Jenkins directed this spot. I absolutely loved working with him, and I will say that as we thought about working with Jim, I had a chance to see some of his previous Super Bowl ads, as many people that are on your that watch your show here know. So things like the Groundhog Day spot for Jeep a couple years ago, and Walter the Cat for Chevy a couple years ago. I love those stories, right? And Jim's able to tell those stories, and I hope that we get a little bit of that magic from Rockstar.
That's great. Looking forward to seeing more of it. Before we go, let's maybe play those 2 teasers once again for everyone.
You are a rock star.
Thank you. You keep telling yourself that.
Who's the new guy?
I don't know, but he's supposed to be some kind of rock star.
Which one of you wants a piercing?
Thanks again for Pete for joining me. And to stay up to date on all of our Super Bowl ad news, go to adage.com/Super Bowl. And don't forget to join our virtual event on February 7th. And be sure to tune in to upcoming episodes of Remotely. You can find out more on adage.com/remotely. As always, thank you to our Ad Age crew, Lauren Ciardio, Arabella Breck, and Anna Sakula for helping to make this live stream happen. Thanks everyone for tuning in.